You've probably seen it 1,000 times on seafood platters, but have you ever wondered why this specific clam carries a deep red liquid that looks disturbingly like human blood? What exactly gives it that color when most other mollusks are translucent or pale? Is it a sign of superior nutrition or a biological warning of a hidden secret fraught with risk? The real reason it is banned in many countries isn't its appearance, but its method of survival. Today, we're diving into the haunting story behind one of the simplest yet most controversial seafoods you know.
The simplest things hide the deepest truths. Stay curious. I'm Edward, and this is QC Project Simple Things.
Imagine a mollusk that isn't translucent or pale, but instead bleeds a thick, vivid crimson liquid identical to human blood. This isn't a cinematic effect. It is the core identity of Teguilarca granosa, the blood clam found across the Indo-Pacific. The divergence lies in its unique intake system, an exceptionally high concentration of hemoglobin within its tissues. While most of its relatives would perish in anaerobic, oxygen-starved tidal flats, where the mud is dense and oxygen is nearly non-existent, the blood clam possesses a mobile oxygen reservoir. This oxygen-carrying protein transforms them into professional divers of the seabed, allowing them to thrive even when buried deep under suffocating sediment. Their flesh is firm with a distinct metallic tang, a physical hallmark of an evolutionary journey to conquer the harshest environments. That dramatic red hue isn't a direct threat. It is a technical solution from nature, a biological hint that this clam was engineered to survive exactly where all other life gives up. So, why does this clam look like that and carry such a dangerous reputation? Imagine a suffocating world, muddy tidal flats, estuaries, and shallow coastal zones where oxygen is a rare luxury. While other mollusks would succumb to the dark, heavy sediment, the blood clam treats it as a sanctuary. The secret is hemoglobin. Think of it as a built-in emergency oxygen tank within its very flesh. It allows the clam to breathe and survive where the water simply doesn't offer enough oxygen. This is a biologically impressive adaptation, quiet, efficient, and perfectly tuned to a challenging environment. But there's a technical detail we often overlook. These shallow, muddy zones are often close to dense human populations. To understand why blood clams gained their reputation, you have to understand how they eat. Blood clams operate as an active filtration system. They don't just eat, they sweep everything from the water. Every hour they pump vast volumes of water through their bodies to filter plankton, but in doing so, they also trap uninvited guests from human waste, viruses, bacteria, and heavy metals. It's not just a clam. It's a living pathogen storage device designed by nature to clean the ocean, but the price is the safety of the consumer. Think of the blood clam as a living record of its environment. It doesn't hunt, it filters. But this isn't an ordinary filter. Hour after hour, it pumps liters of water through its body to trap microscopic plankton and organic particles. Yet, water is never just water. Alongside food, this active filtration mechanism inadvertently captures everything suspended in the current: bacteria, viruses, heavy metals, and chemical pollutants. The real danger lies in accumulation concentration. Because blood clams remain stationary and continuously filter the same shallow coastal water, often where sewage and industrial runoff enter the ecosystem, contaminants don't just pass through, they concentrate within the tissues. A single small clam can harbor pathogen levels hundreds of times higher than the surrounding water. At that point, the blood clam becomes something strange, a persistent accumulation of its entire surrounding ecosystem. When you consume a blood clam from polluted waters, you aren't just eating seafood, you are consuming the entire waste history of that coast. The vibrant red makes the story feel scary, but it also serves as a perfect visual trap. While we are distracted by the debate over its blood-like appearance, a simpler and quieter question remains ignored. What kind of water did this clam spend its life filtering? Once you see it that way, the entire headline of this audit changes. This clam isn't dangerous simply because it looks like blood. It becomes risky because it possesses an environmental memory. In biology, the blood clam is viewed as a sensitive bioindicator, a faithful mirror reflecting the pollution levels of its habitat. It doesn't actively produce toxins. It is merely a vessel for the history of the current. The red hue is just a biological trait, but its capacity to record is what brings real consequences. And as history has brutally shown, that memory can lead to devastating tragedies. Why do traditional cooking methods fail when it comes to blood clams? The answer lies in the specific lipid binding structure within this species' tissue. Biological studies indicate that viruses like hepatitis A don't just sit on the surface. They can also permeate and bind tightly to the lipid-rich cell membranes inside the cell. This encasement by fat molecules creates a natural heat shield, allowing the virus to maintain an exceptionally high thermal stability. When you briefly blanch a blood clam to preserve its vivid red color and succulent texture, the heat often only reaches the surface, failing to breach the internal lipid fortress, leaving pathogens like typhoid or dysentery completely viable. This isn't a mysterious ocean curse, but a consequence of risk convergence. The blood clam doesn't inherently produce pathogens. It is simply a concentrated reservoir. In shallow coastal areas with high population density and poor wastewater treatment, the clam's filtration mechanism makes it the ecosystem's most efficient virus collection device. The danger of the blood clam doesn't lie in a unique toxicity, but in the intersection of its tissue's persistent storage capacity and a culinary habit that prioritizes texture over safety. This is what modern science has unraveled. The risk doesn't come from the clam itself, but from our attempt to enjoy a waste archive using cooking methods insufficient to erase its biological history. The story of the blood clam didn't begin in testing labs or through international trade bans. It began centuries ago along the coasts of Asia. For coastal communities back then, these mollusks were a resilient gift from the sea, an essential, affordable source of protein woven into daily life. Harvested close to home and sold in local markets, their history was a peaceful narrative of symbiosis between humanity and the tidal flats. However, a brutal turning point arrived in the late 20th century due to ecological disruption. As urban centers expanded and waste treatment failed to keep pace with industrialization, once pristine shallow waters became massive reservoirs for pathogens. The most devastating peak occurred in China during the 1980s and 1990s, when horrific hepatitis A outbreaks were traced with surgical precision back to contaminated blood clam beds. The reality was grimmer than any warning. As many as 300,000 people were infected with hepatitis A during this single outbreak. This milestone transformed the blood clam from mere food into biological evidence. It stands as a stark lesson in how contamination moves through ecosystems and returns to people, quietly and efficiently, through something as ordinary as a shell. When looking at a plate of blood clams today, we aren't just seeing seafood, we are looking at a living record of human development, from an ancient survival legacy to a modern signal of environmental failure. Because when a food becomes a case study, it is nature finally returning to us exactly what we poured into the ocean. Many people think that simply soaking blood clams in clean water with a bit of salt or chili can wash away all harmful substances. But here's the truth: you cannot rinse your way out of a broken environment. In the industry, this is known as depuration, placing clams in controlled water to purge impurities. While this can reduce sand and certain bacteria, it is notoriously ineffective against viruses that are deeply embedded within the clam's lipid tissues. While depuration sounds safer, it's more of a myth than a medical miracle. Modern seafood safety isn't one heroic step at the kitchen sink. It's a systemic safety chain: wastewater management, clean harvesting zones, temperature controls, and rigorous enforcement. In the US and other nations, blood clams are banned not because they are uniquely evil, but because this chain is often not strong enough to monitor a creature capable of such extreme pathogen concentration. When that chain breaks, the clam becomes what it has always been: a filter, only now filtering a more dangerous world. This raises a human question rather than a scientific one. Why, despite the documented risks, do we keep eating them? Food is never just a series of chemical reactions or safety metrics. Food is memory. In many parts of Asia, blood clams carry a profound cultural anchoring. To someone at a neighborhood stall or a busy market, these clams aren't a public health issue. They are a familiar taste tied to childhood, coastlines, and the comfort of shared traditions. This is the central tension of the story. While science speaks in the language of probabilities and outbreaks, culture speaks in the language of seasons and communal meals. Both are real, and both matter. In recent years, there have been attempts to bridge this gap through controlled aquaculture systems. By farming clams in monitored environments with regulated water quality and harvesting conditions, producers hope to mitigate contamination risks. However, these systems require expensive infrastructure and oversight that are difficult to maintain on a massive scale. As a result, health authorities still issue cautionary warnings, especially for vulnerable groups. So, are blood clams truly the most dangerous clam? Before we answer, we must clear away the classic myths that keep this conversation stuck in place. The first and most obvious misconception is red means toxic. In the world of blood clams, red simply means hemoglobin, a biological solution for surviving low oxygen environments. This color is biology, not intrinsic poison. The second misconception involves moralizing the animal. This clam is the problem. A blood clam is not a villain. It is a filter feeder. If the surrounding water is polluted and oversight is weak, the clam will accumulate what the environment provides. It reflects conditions more than it creates them. The risk doesn't lie within the clam's genetic code, but in the failure of the ecosystem. The third and most dangerous misconception is personal confidence. I'll know if it's safe. With filter feeding shellfish, you rarely will. Smell, appearance, and freshness cues cannot reliably reveal viral contamination. This is due to the infectious dose. Even a microscopic amount of virus stored in the tissue is enough to cause illness, while the clam remains perfectly normal in appearance. The most vital information is usually the least visible, where it came from and how it was handled. I want to give you the 10-second rule. This is the fastest way to determine whether you're enjoying a pure gift from the ocean or gambling with a pathogen reservoir. Next time a plate of blood clams is served, don't eat immediately. Spend those 10 seconds on the pigment transformation test. First, observe the color of the liquid the moment the shell is pried open. A fresh and safe blood clam must exhibit a vibrant, bright red hue, reflecting hemoglobin in its oxygen-rich state. If the liquid appears dark, murky, or brownish-black, and a pungent fishy odor hits you instantly, it's a red flag that the clam has been dead or decomposing in an anaerobic environment for too long, a clear signal of bacterial buildup. Second, use the tip of your chopstick to gently touch the red tissue for 5 seconds. A high-quality clam will have good elasticity and slightly contract upon contact. If the flesh is mushy, loses its characteristic pastel pink undertone, and shows no reaction, it is physical proof that the cellular structure has collapsed, increasing the risk of exposure to viruses like hepatitis A, which thrive in decaying tissues. In just 10 seconds, you aren't just guessing, you're reading the DNA of freshness. Your senses will reveal the truth about the origin and storage process that the menu tried to hide. So, how should we view the blood clam? A precious gift from the ocean or a ticking public health time bomb? The answer doesn't lie within the clam itself, but in how we treat the waters it calls home. The blood clam doesn't create risk. It is simply an honest filter, faithfully reflecting exactly what we have poured into the sea. Whether to indulge or decline ultimately depends on how much you trust the systemic safety chain. Remember, what you see on your plate is never the whole story. There is always a deep and complex history hidden just beneath the shell, because even the simplest things have the deepest roots. If you enjoyed this story, tell us in the comments what simple thing we should explore next. Your idea might become our next episode.
I am Edward, and this is QC Project Simple Things. Thank you for watching.
Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the simple things in everyday life. Because what you see is never the whole story. There's always something deeper beneath the surface. See you in the next one.